Hello everyone and welcome. This is Kelly and we're so glad that you're back here at the Honeybee Stamps YouTube channel for the first look at our vintage holiday release coming to honeybeestamps.com on October the 14th. First, I have the newest edition of our Buzzword collection, and this is the stamp set titled Peace. There's lots of mix and match sentiments that will go along with that large scripty stamp, peace, peace and joy, peace to you and yours, and peace during this difficult time. So lots of greetings to make the perfect peaceful sentiment for the front of your card. Now there's also a coordinating die set. It is a 3-piece die set that includes the scripty word peace, a basic shadow, and then a larger pierced shadow that has a cut line, and then pierced detail right around the edge. Next, I have a pair of beautiful cover plates to share with you. This is our Fancy Flakes cover plate. You can see the beautiful snowflake design in the center of the cover plate. And this will cut down your paper to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. The next cover plate is called the Fancy Flakes Pierced Cover Plate. You can see the beautiful piercing design that will deboss your paper in those nice little dots or pierced design. Now this does not have the cut line around the edge, so it makes it easier to use on the flaps of your envelopes, on die cuts. You can use this in the center of a larger card, let's say a 5 by 7 card, and just have that beautiful snowflake design. So lots of different options. These also layer together. So if you wanted to cut out the first Fancy Flakes design and then add the pierced design over the top, you can do that as well. So let's take a look at a couple of examples. First, Jennifer's card. She's used both of those cover plates layered together. So she cut out the Fancy Flakes design out of her cardstock, and then she placed that debossed plate or the pierced plate over the top to get that added pierced look onto her snowflakes. Here I've created a card and an envelope using just the debossed or the pierced design that doesn't have a cutting edge. You can see that subtle white background with the snowflakes. I've used the design on my little Christmas tree there and also on the flap of the envelope. This pierced cover plate is also perfect if you love to stitch with embroidery floss and use those on your card designs. The first stencil in our vintage holiday release is the Crystal Kaleidoscope stencil. This is a 6 by 6 inch stencil. This can be used for all of your winter and Christmas backgrounds, and it's such a beautiful geometric design, it's perfect for everyday cards as well. Now here is a stencil background piece using 3 colors. You can see the beautiful crystal kaleidoscope design, the thicker lines up towards the top and the bottom, and the more delicate design in the center. The next 6 by 8 inch stamp set is called Snow Family Like Ours. There are 6 different adorable little snowmen, all dressed up in their winter gear. There are 2 larger snowmen that can be used as like a mother and father. There are 3 kind of small little children, and of course there's an added little baby snowman. There's a Christmas tree and lots of great sentiments like all my friends are flakes, from our flaky family, with love from your favorite flakes. Some people are worth melting for. Their snow family like ours. You're so cool. Chillin' with my snowmies and more. There's lots of little things to decorate your scenes. There are snowballs that the little snow family can throw. There's snowflakes, and there's also a little ridged or snowy hillside towards the bottom. Now the coordinating die set will cut out every one of your little snowman family, cuts out the snowy hillside, and then all of those great greetings as well. Now here's an inspiration card from design team member Alba. You can see she's used that crystal kaleidoscope stenciled background with some glitter glitz gel, and she's made the most adorable little snow family to go along the bottom of her card. Next is the 6 by 6 inch falling snow background stamp. This is a clear, clean stamp. It's fun to make beautiful snowflake background. You can use this with your embossing powders by using your favorite embossing ink. Pour on your favorite embossing powder, heat that up, and have a beautiful background. It's also beautiful on dark paper. Use this with your perfect pearls. So lots of fun, lots of ways to create a beautiful backdrop for all of your winter cards. Next is the Build a Snowman layering die set. This die set has everything you need to create the cutest little snowmen, including 6 different layering hats and headwear, such as those cute little reindeer antlers. There's 9 different layering accessories like scarves, gloves, candy canes, and more. There are 3 separate body segments and 6 different arm options for endless possibilities to build the cutest little snow people. Now this is what your die set looks like when it comes to you. So you can see all of those great little accessories there in the layering dies. There are 6 different arm options that come in one die, so it's easy to run that through your die machine and get lots of different options. There's the cute little accessories like the little gift, the broom, there's little noses, and all those cute little different styles of hats, a candy cane, and much, much more. This is the 3-piece pine tree dies. As you can see here, there are 3 different sizes of pine trees, perfect for your holiday and winter cards. There is a small, medium, and large pine tree. You can see all the great texture there that you get in the branches when that is cut. Here's a beautiful card from design team member Jennifer. She's used all 3 of those dies to create 3 pine trees. She's done some ink blending and added beautiful gold embossing powder to the tips of her die cut trees. Next is the A2 Scene Builder card dies. Now this will build a box card or a diorama style card. That is the back die there. It has embossing lines to make it easy to fold the flaps. The front part cuts a window so you can layer your scenes on the inside of your card. Now when this is assembled, it will fold up to create a A2 size card so it will fit into your envelopes. Now this add-on die set is called the A2 Mountain Scene Builder. Now this creates the scene that will fit into your diorama box. So you can see there's 2 different hillsides that you can use for snow or grass. There's a mountain, trees, and snow caps. And when layered together, using those little tabs that you can fold in and glue inside your box, you get a beautiful mountain scene. Now, as I collapse this box, you can see that it will measure 4 1/4 on the sides there or on the ends, and then 5 1/2 across the top. So folded down, this will fit into your typical A2 size envelope. Okay, so let's create a card with some of the products from today. So I'm going to use the Crystal Kaleidoscope Stencil, the Piece Buzzword Stamp, and the coordinating dies. Bristol paper, because I like to ink blend on Bristol paper, get a nice smooth finish, and then I'm using chipped sapphire, pine needles, and cracked pistachio oxide ink. I'm using the Brutus Monroe Gilded Embossing Powder. It's a beautiful gold. I'm going to take this stencil out and I'm going to get it set up on my Bristol paper that I've now cut down. Now you can see this beautiful design. The image or the design here is a little chunkier on what I'm using as the top and the bottom, and it's a little more delicate in the center, just like a kaleidoscope looking design. Now I'm going to treat my stencil with a little bit of pixie spray because I want to keep all of the image or the design in spots. So all those little lines of the stencil, I don't want those to move around when I use my blending brushes. So I just held that off to the side so I don't make a sticky mess on my desk. I'm going to place that right over the top of that cardstock, And just for good measure, I'm going to tape down a little bit of purple tape on either side. Now I'm going to take my Honeybee Stamps blending brushes and get my brush really good and juicy with that chipped Sapphire Distress Oxide ink, and I am going both directions when I push the ink in through the stencil. So I will spin my brush around to the right and then to the left and back and forth, make sure that I get all down in the nooks and crannies, and then I'm going to spin that paper around and I'm going to do the other end. So now that I have my chipped sapphire done, again, I'm going to take my blending brush and this time go over the next part of the design with pine needles. Again, I'm twisting my brush one way and then the next. Make sure I get good coverage through that stencil. And then last but not least, I'm going to take the lightest color, which is cracked pistachio, and I'm going to go right down the center. So this variation in color is going to add to that kind of kaleidoscope effect that you're going to get when I pull back this design or this stencil. While I have my brushes dirty, so I did not re-ink my brushes, I'm just going to go right back over, blend those colors a little bit better, blend them a little bit better into one another. Lastly, I'll take the cracked pistachio and give that an all over little brush there with my blending brush, and then I'm ready to peel back that stencil for the beautiful kaleidoscope design. I can take my tape back, but before I'm finished with my blending brushes, I'm going to set this whole background down and I'm going very lightly. So I've slowed the video down just a little bit or kept this part at normal speed. I'm going very lightly with my dirty brushes. I'm not dipping that back into the ink, and I'm just brushing some all over color. So using the chipped sapphire in those areas, and it just makes a really light color blue over the white. Now you can use that white or leave it white, however you want to do it. I just wanted to add a little bit of all over color. Then I'm taking the pine needles and going over the pine needle colored area. And then I'll take the cracked pistachio and then go right over the center. So that's just an easy way to add all over color into the white areas of the design. Now I've trimmed this down to 4 by 5 1/4 because I want this really glossy metallic gold cardstock to kind of peek out around the edges. So I'm going to have layers here on this card. So I'm going to trim that down and have a gold layer for my card base. And then I'm also going to use the peace buzzword like I mentioned before. For my sentiment, I am going to use a piece of heavy duty vellum. So I have my peace stamp here. I'm treating that whole piece of vellum with some anti-static powder, and I'm going to emboss this peace buzzword with that Brutus Monroe gilded gold embossing powder. So my card is going to read peace to you and yours, and I'm setting up that little sub-sentiment there. I'm going to do it all in gold, all on vellum, and so I can stamp it all at one time. And now I'm going to take my Versamark embossing ink pad and then go right over the top of both of those stamps and then stamp that onto my vellum. And I just like to kind of tap. That way that embossing ink doesn't kind of seep out or get too juicy around the sides when we're using embossing powder. I'm going to ink those one more time just for good measure, close the MISTI door, and then tap those down again to make sure I have really good coverage. Now I can take up my piece of vellum, and now I'm going to cover it in that gilded gold embossing powder. Make sure it's really nicely covered. Tap that into just a coffee filter, and you can see how beautiful those turn out with the embossing powder. I'm going to heat up my heat tool and let it get really good and hot because I don't want to keep the heat on the vellum for too long. So you can see I kind of move it around and then take it off of the vellum, move it around and then take it off, and then it will start to heat up and melt. And that just makes it where my vellum won't get too warped by the heat tool. So once I get that all nice and melted and smooth, I am ready to use the coordinating dies for that buzzword set and run those through my die machine. Now for this particular card, I am going to use the largest shadow piece that has the pierced edge. It also has the cut line around the whole thing. So I'm going to place that right onto the vellum, make sure it's all lined up, and then I'm going to hold it down with something like a purple tape or a washi tape, whatever you have, right over the top of that, make sure it's centered. And then I'm using my sentiment banner dies to cut out the to you and yours. Make sure that's nicely lined up and tape that down as well before I run that through my die machine. Now these are ready to go straight onto my card and my card base. So I have the vellum cut out. I'm using my Honeybee Stamps Be Creative Precision Tip Glue, and I'm going to place that piece buzzword right into the center of my card with the help of my tweezers, my Be Creative tweezers. Once I get that lined up and kind of place where I want to, I'm going to make sure that I press and hold and really let that liquid glue set up and really grab a hold of the cardstock underneath. Next, I can add liquid adhesive right behind where I have heat embossed that sub-sentiment. I added some gold gems in the middle of those little kaleidoscope designs, and I decided to use white cardstock as my card base to really make that sentiment pop. You can see where I've added the little gems there just for a little sparkle and a little interest. And that's it for this crystal kaleidoscope stenciled card. I just love the heat embossed piece buzzword with the to you and yours. And that's it for the first day of products in our vintage holiday release. I hope you'll check out all of the inspiration on all of our social media sites. And I hope you'll join us on October the 14th on Instagram for our release party. They're always lots of fun with lots of giveaways, and I hope to see you back here tomorrow for day 2.